Alright guys, what's up? So today I'm going to do a really quick sketch for you. I'm going to use just regular 8.5 by 11 printer paper. Nothing professional is going to be used in this video. And by professional I mean like professional grade stuff. It's not that you couldn't do professional stuff with the tools that I'm using. I'm just saying no Copics. Copics are expensive. They're about $4 to $5 a piece. Same thing goes for Prismacolor. Any of these alcohol-based markers are all quite expensive. And then this is my $30, like $25 to $30 Pentel graphic inking pen. Instead of this, I'm actually going to use this one, which is about $5 to $6. This is the Aquash pen. This is actually made for watercolors, so you're supposed to fill this reservoir with water. But it actually does work quite well if you fill it with like India ink or Rapidograph. Actually, they're all India ink, so that's fine. But this pen, just so you know, it does flow a lot more than that other Pentel pen does. So you're going to get a lot more ink put on the page. You're not going to be able to get as fine line variation as you'd be able to get with the other one. But it's significantly cheaper to buy. So we're going to use that one for doing our line work. For our actual sketching and that underneath, I'm just going to use like simple highlighters. I'm going to use orange in this one just so it shows up on the video a little bit, but while you're drawing you could use the yellow and that'll have it kind of fade into the background even more once you get the black ink on there. But for this instance I'm going to use the orange. And then other stuff that I'm probably not going to use in this video, but it's just if you want to use it in the future, that's fine as well. These are some just dollar store brush markers. They're very, very cheap. I think you get a pack of 6 for like $2. But do keep in mind the tips are going to degrade much, much quicker than something like a Prismacolor or Copic marker. But they are still good for getting a feel for how the brush tips work on paper and that. So then you can get some simple fine liner type markers. Again, I think this is like a pack of like 12 for $2. These would give you more of the feeling of like technical pens, would let you do a little more detail work. And just for the sake of like this video where this is going to lay on very heavy, this is where you could get some of the more fine lines done with this. It doesn't have to be blue. I think I do have a black one. I just grabbed the blue one on accident. And finally, another option that you could use is just basic Crayola markers. Like these are preschool grade, very cheap. They're actually fairly long lasting, which is nice. But again, don't let the tools stop you from learning how to draw. This is something you want to do, hopefully, and if you're watching this video, I would think so. But if this is where you got to start, this is where you have to start. It's not a problem. Don't let anyone judge you or anything about that. You're going to draw the way you're going to draw. You're going to come up with your own styles. There's plenty of really cool stuff being done with Crayola markers. I'm actually going to do a video using just Crayola markers in the future here. So this one's pretty cool. This is like a good starting point. So, but that said, we're going to start with the highlighter, and I'm just going to go ahead and draw kind of the construction lines that make up the drawing that I'm going to ink at the end of this. And it's going to be very sketchy. We're not looking for a finished piece here. We're just looking for how do we kind of construct a drawing? How do we come up with a cartoon or comic book kind of look? So that said, I'm just going to kind of talk along as I'm doing this. So with most of my drawings, most of my kind of character faces, I usually just start with an oval. And this is a very common convention anyways. This is kind of the top portion of the head. And then if I'm doing a 3/4 kind of view where the head is slightly turned to the left or the right, you can always just draw a basic line here that shows you where the face is pointing towards. So if we were doing a straight one, we'd want it straight down in the middle. But in this case, we're kind of looking a little bit to the left here. For the bottom of the face, this can be any number of shapes. It's just a combination of a circle and another shape. You could do another circle if you wanted. If you've seen a lot of cartoons, they use a lot of circles for kind of reconstructing the face. But for this one, I think I'm actually going to do more like a blocky base. So this is going to be kind of the line where the cheekbone goes. This will go down to another line. So this is kind of going down to the jawline, and then we'll create the jaw here. So this one will come off like that. We'll go along the bottom. So if you've seen the painting video that I've done, you'll see this is a fairly standard structure of the face for me. I've gotten used to doing this. So we'll do this is kind of where the eyebrow is going to go. And then this is going to go up. Then we'll create kind of the roundness of the top of the face. We'll go like this. And then we're just going to round the top of the head here. Now we're going to put hair on this guy, so you wouldn't necessarily have to make this line thicker, but just for the sake of the video so you can see everything, I'm going to draw that kind of that way. For an ear, the ear we kind of want like in the middle of the face, right? The middle area. So this is kind of where I'm going to base my middle off of, and I'm going to exaggerate the bottom of the face a little bit since this is a cartoon. But this is roughly where we're going to look for the middle. So we can do an ear off of this side, again, just using a kind of oval shape. Give it a little bit of a point, so maybe this is like an orcish kind of character or something. And then another ear off of this side that we can't see a lot because it's kind of obscured by the cheekbone there. And then we're doing the other cheekbone on this side. And then this will help you give like the 3D effect as we kind of figure out where that light and shadow is going to hit the side of the face here. So this could actually come down a little bit. Yeah, so we're looking at that. This is kind of the bottom of the chin. And then we're going to figure out where the nose goes. So nose is basically just a triangular shape. That you could leave it as simple as something like that. But if you do want to add kind of nostrils and things like that, this is how I do them. Again, it depends on the angle in which you're looking. Like if this is kind of straight on and we're doing an exaggerated nose like this, having a big flared nostril is okay. A lot of like female characters and things like that, you may not want to include the nostril. You kind of want to simplify the features. It gives them a more feminine look. But since this is a big tough looking guy, we're going to go with the bigger features. Then you may want to do like a triangle here. Now again, I'm drawing out the full triangle to give you guys the shape of the nose here. This helps you see the dimensionality of it kind of popping off the page. But these aren't lines we're always going to ink as well. So we'll do another kind of block here. So this is kind of the nose, the bridge of the nose here. And then we're going to do this to get kind of the brow started here. So this is where the kind of crease in your forehead would kind of go if you were like scowling or that. So now we're going to go across here. So since this is kind of the top of the eyebrow here, I'm going to go like that. I'm going to do another kind of on this side. And then we can probably do this as well. So this kind of gives a ridge. So this now looks like this is coming off. The forehead's coming out a little bit from where the eyes are. And then if we do another round circle here. So again, this is another one. I'm going to actually draw this as a full circle to show you guys. So this is kind of where the eyeball will kind of sit in the head. But whenever you do this line over top, you're building that kind of eyelid shape there. You could also build an eyelid off the bottom if you wanted to with this kind of shape. And you're really only going to use this part of the oval, but you're getting the right shape of the eye here, especially for a cartoon. Again, cartoon comic is that way as well. So then this one, you're only going to draw a portion of the circle, but again, this would kind of go around like this if it were sitting in the head, right? So you're seeing the shape of that, of the part that we're using that is the circle. The whole circle's there, we're just not using all of it. For pupils and things like that, that's again, very simple. The irises, a little highlight, and then a pupil right in the middle, right? So that gives you that look of kind of the eye being slightly shiny. If we did want to make the mouth, let's say this guy's a big laughing mouth, this could just be a straight line across. You could have a really big chin on the bottom, but in this case, I'm just going to give him a little bit of a shape here. So this is now, yeah, here we go. This is a big, big mouth on him. So yeah, we can shape this however we want. Like this could even come up like this. Let's actually do that. We're going to do that. Now we can give him some teeth here. So again, that's just a simple shape there. Let's just give it the idea that the teeth are jutting out from the bottom. Do a little line here. So this now, again, you could do something like you could add the gums in if you wanted to. You can add as much or as little detail as you want. This now, because of that line, could actually be the bottom of his lip, but we're actually just going to kind of adjust that a little bit. If we wanted to add a beard or something to him, you can do it at this point. For the sake of this one, I'm going to keep it a little more simple. For eyebrows, again, for men, you're going to want to make them a little more thick. Again, that's a more masculine feature, but for girls, like if you're doing a girl's eye, I'm just going to draw it off to the side here. If you're doing something like this, right? So You know, want to make that top line a little thicker. That'll help it look like maybe there's like some eyeshadow or some eyeliner and that on it. We'll do this into this, right? So, and then this back line can be thicker too, because again, a lot of girls wear makeup that has that kind of thicker kind of feel. And because when you're drawing a female character or a male character, drawing attention to the eyes is important. The eyes are kind of how we all see people initially. So if we're like this is kind of the eyelid. Add the iris here. So you can see like that's a much more feminine look than this one because we've got the eyelashes and that on it. But if you were to do an eyebrow, you wouldn't want a big thick eyebrow here necessarily to keep the feminine look. You'd want to have like a thinner kind of eyebrow like this, right? So, and then this could even be colored in all black, leave a little bit for a highlight off of it. But that'll give you that kind of more feminine look. And then if you wanted to shade in here to make this top part of the eye a little darker, that'll help it recess back so that it looks like there's a brow ridge in that as well. But anyway, we're going to go back to this guy since I've just done that example off to the side. I'm going to draw another one. We're going to keep his eyebrows nice and thick, but we'll tail them off on this side a little bit. And then in terms of hair, let's give this guy like a mohawk or something like that. So like from here is kind of where like his widow's peak would kind of start. We're going to do maybe like a few little hairs here. So again, when you're drawing cartoon hair, I think a lot of artists get hung up on hair because again, it's not something that's typically thought of as shapes, but whenever you're drawing as a cartoon or comic book style, think of the hair as a shape. Think of it as this is kind of the front of the hair. We'll do like a little bit of this. So now this is kind of the initial shape of that first part. Now, like if we left it like this, it looks like he's just got like a leaf on his head. But if we want to add a little more dimension to it, we can do this kind of thing. And we'll actually have it come off the back of his head and we'll do something like this. Now this is kind of a goofy looking haircut, but it fits for him. And then we'll come down here and we'll actually just go right over top of this. It's okay that we have construction lines here. We're going to add a little bit of a sideburn there on the side of his face. So again, you can use this general structure to create just about any face. If I show you like really quickly here on the side, I'll do another one. I'll just do something really quick. Let's do more of a female face here. So for female face, you'd want to go down more into like a triangular shape at the bottom. You can do a little more round features. A lot of masculine features are very sharp and blocky. But in this case, females tend to have softer features. It's not always the case, but I'll just do a little bit of a brow here. And then for her, we'll just do something like this. So again, I use the same oval. I've used a shape along the bottom. So this one's more square, but this one's more triangular. We'll just make the nose a little bit smaller. And then we'll give it a little bit of a kind of swoop back rather than swoop up. So that gives it more of a kind of cutesy look. And then we'll actually carry this right up here. And then we'll carry another one up here. So that's just the brow ridge. And then we're actually going to do same thing we did up here. Extend these eyelashes out a little bit. Extend these eyelashes out off the face even. So that they look like we've got a lot of eyelashes going on. Now this is the exact same pattern as here. We're just using the thicker eyelashes. And then we'll do the same thing on this side. All right. So you can see this is already looking more feminine. If I do the lips, we can make them more like puffed up rather than a straight line. So this is done more, this is again combining shapes. So we'll go here, we've got kind of this almost triangular, we just got a little notch kind of in it here. And the bottom is more of like kind of the half of a heart almost. Do that for the edge of the face. And the edge of the smile, sorry there. Ear. And then you can start to add accessories and things like that. Like girls will wear earrings sometimes, guys will too. So if you want to include it on him, you can always do that as well. There, so we've got that. And then hair on a female, depending on the style you want to go for, a lot of times it'll sweep in front of the eyes. And then you can always sweep like this. So again, think of it as shapes. So now this is very like 80s hair. This is very big hair. So that's a very quick way of doing it. But yeah, this is huge on this side. You could thin that out a little bit and it wouldn't be an issue. But let's just finish up quickly on this guy's neck. We'll add a neck here. That'll go down. This would end up continuing on. I'm just going to leave her face so that it's there. This is kind of the front of his neck. And then some of the musculature in the front of the neck itself, kind of around the throat area, would extend up here. And we'll do the other shoulder on this side. And then we'll go into like, this is the deltoid, the top of your shoulder, kind of your upper arm, let's say here. And then from here, you'd have just basic anatomy. We've got the pectorals that go here, and we'll just kind of leave it like that. So that's a general shape for a cartoon style character. Now quickly, I'm going to try and get through the inking really fast here. Like I said, this marker, or this brush pen, sorry, does flow very, very quickly. So if you do have to wipe it off on a napkin or something like that, that's fine. You're going to be able to preserve your line thicknesses a little better that way. But I'm just going to go ahead and start laying these down. And with inking in particular, you're going to want to be very confident with your lines, especially with a brush. You don't want to stop anywhere because you may end up with like globs of ink. If you have to stop, I do these kind of like little notches here and there. You can pick it back up, but you need to make sure you're applying the same kind of pressure as what you did when you stopped the line. So if I'm stopping like that, I need to start back a little bit here and then go with the same thickness, so that I'm trying to keep roughly the same thickness of that line all the way through. So we'll do that. And again, you're not going to use all of your construction lines. These are more guidelines at this point, right? So I'm not going to color her head here. I'm just going to use the lines on his head. Here. And we'll do the inner ear part here. And you can see that quick swoop lets you go from thick to thin very easily. And again, these are things you're going to learn using the tools. Like right now, this ink doesn't dry very quickly because it's very thin ink. Well, some thin inks dry quicker than others, but this one doesn't for whatever reason. But you're going to learn kind of the techniques that you need to use for the tools that you're using. You're going to get used to the tools that you're using, and that's going to work for you a little bit better. So kind of putting this at a little bit of an odd angle for me while I'm drying, but that's okay. All right, so as you can see, I'm using just the construction lines more as a guideline. Like I mentioned, you're not going to draw all of them because they don't all need to be drawn. They're more there for you to be able to build the face. You're building the features, but they're not a necessary thing to put ink on all of them whenever you're doing your final drawing, or your final inking, I guess, over top. So there we're getting the general shape of the face. I'm going to get from here. I'm just going to do that. I'm going to skip the eyebrows for 1 second. Don't worry if you mess up and stuff like that. We do have software like Photoshop and that you can go and clean up some of your lines if you need to afterwards. So I don't know. I think it's good to work this way. I found it good to work this way because there's no eraser. There's no way for you to get hung up on correcting mistakes and things like that. If you make a mistake, just keep going. Don't worry about it. And in terms of tools and stuff like that, like I mentioned before, these are not expensive tools. These are relatively cheap things to get started with. Because if you're just learning, you don't want to like break the bank on your drawings. Kind of want to figure out if you like doing it in the first place, right? So don't let anybody tell you you need to have professional stuff. You don't need professional, equipment or anything like that right away. You need to be able to teach yourself the fundamentals of drawing first. So you're looking at, definitely with cartooning, you're looking at shapes and form. Once you get into the coloring in that, you're going to look more at shading and kind of how you lay things on the page so that you give it more dimension. But your lines do actually give a lot of dimension in that as well. Like in the case of here, if I make this line thick on the bottom of the eyebrow, and then I make this one thinner on the top, it's automatically giving a feeling of a shadow underneath that eyebrow there, right? So that looks kind of like it's popping off of the face a little more. And then if I do this, and then I go thin on the bottom, there we go. I gotta take some ink off of that. You kind of give the impression that this is a little bit lighter on the bottom side. It's not that it is, it's still ink is heavy there, but you're not having to fill it in just for the sake of filling it in. It's not, you're giving the impression of something. You're not having to do like the construction of it, like I said. I hope that makes sense. All right, let's just get this part of the nose done. Again, this is the case here. Like there's construction lines here and here. We don't need to add them. They don't need to be in the final drawing itself. Okay, and those are nice and thin. That just gives, again, makes it feel like the nose is popping off of the face. Let's get this mouth finished. And these little notches and stuff like that, especially on guys, it's like kind of neat to use them to make like scars. So let's do a scar there off of his face. And then we can do like off of his lip there, sorry. And then you can do like a little bit of a smile line coming off of the nose. For the bottom of the lip, we can also do another notch. All right, and then this is where you can start to play with expressions and things like that. Obviously, you're not going to be stuck to one look of the face all the time. I know I have a particular style that is something that's easy for me to go to, but you're always going to make sure that you're challenging yourself with new design styles and that. Make sure you're working on expressions and things, right? So there we go, we got the teeth in there. Get a little bit of the gums that I had before. Again, very, very light line to do that, right? Okay. Flipping this all around on you guys, sorry. Just want to get the angle good for me to draw. All right, so I'm going to finish off these lines quickly, and then I'm just going to come in with some simple shading. Okay, so that's really, really, really quick, really simple. Now I'm going to do some shading on the hair with the actual ink after, but since this stuff lays on really heavy, I'm actually just going to set this to the side. And I'm going to use the orange that we used, not this orange, sorry, this orange that I used initially, and just add a little bit of shading in here, just a little bit of shadows. So we do something off of the hair. So this just gives a little bit of it, and you don't have to be like very precise with this. You got to be just thinking about where the light's coming from. So if the light's coming down, the hair, sorry, is going to cover a little bit of the forehead. So we're going to end up with like a little bit of shadow just where the kind of hairline is, right? I'm going to add shadow here in the mouth. And I should have let the ink dry a little more, but we're doing this quickly. So the ink is just being picked up by the marker a little bit. But again, this is a sketch, not a finished piece, so don't really worry about that too much. This is more about just figuring out the techniques and figuring out how to construct faces and characters and design them. I'm going to color in the iris there. That's going to be just orange. And again, you can see this is all just one color set, right? I'm not doing anything too detailed in terms of color. It's more just figuring out value in that. Do this on this ear. Okay, we'll kind of filled this ear in a little bit. And we'll do like a good big shadow here under his jawline, because his head's going to be sitting over top of his neck quite a bit. So again, you can see that now has already lifted the face off of the neck. It's not kind of sitting there. Now you can do more down here. I'm not going to do it for the sake of this video, just to keep it as short as I can. We're getting up on a half an hour. So now to do the bit that I was talking about with the hair, we want to add some highlights in that, but we do want to use the black kind of as the main thing. So this is going to have kind of highlight on it right in the middle here. So what we're going to want to do is, we're not worrying about these back lines, like kind of the way this is forming here. We're worried about these ones here. We want them to be nice and sharp. so that it gives the illusion of strands of hair in here. And then from here, we're just going to go fill this area in, right? So now this doesn't look like much until you add the other side. This really doesn't do anything. But now I'm just going to flip this around. Here we go. So now you can see it already starting to form. And I'm just going to add like this little bit of white on the outside here. It's just for like rim lights and backlighting. That'll make it look like there's some light hitting the sides of it. We're going to do the exact same thing here. Just do it a little bit lighter. It's a lot smaller space. But now it looks like the light has kind of hit here. We've got a highlight right on the hair. Let me do this kind of thing on here. So we're just going to continue that off of this one. So I'm just going to do it. And this is kind of going to converge. So we're going to have this highlight kind of finish about this area. So if I do this now on this side. Again, I'm doing this really quick. You can do this, take a lot more time whenever you're doing this on a finished piece, obviously. There, now let's just finish this up. Now you could do more highlights down along the bottom if you wanted to as well. It's not necessary, but you can if you want to. Just get this done here quickly. All right. Sorry about this last bit, guys. Just let me get it finished. All right, so that's that. Now we've got the eyebrows. The eyebrows are obviously the same color as the hair. So the exact same technique here. We're just going to do it at the angle. Again, this is a smaller area, so I'm not worried about being as precise with everything. It's more about giving the illusion of it. But you just give that little bit of an area of highlight there and then leave the rim lights so that we've got a little bit of light hitting the edges of the hair in that as well. So that said, that is that. We've got ourselves a cool looking character here. I may just do a video of just doing some doodling, kind of time lapse so you can see some different character styles, but this is the technique that I generally use whenever I'm doing pen and ink and markers and that as well. So just give this a quick sign. And that's that. If you guys want to see more videos like this, let me know in the comments. I can do girl drawings, I can do guys. If you've seen my Ash video, I did an Ash video from Overwatch. So that's more like female approach to the drawing, but I didn't do a lot of explaining along the way on that one. So I just wanted to walk you guys right through the process. This video I know is a little bit long, but I'm hoping that you guys can just see kind of some of the techniques that are used to do this kind of drawing. And if you want to try it yourself, go for it. I'd like to see it. So again, give me a like and subscribe if you like this one, and I'll see you guys in the next one.